Hello, fellow Mythrunians. Welcome to another weekly live stream. As you might remember, last time we ran a little long and got dungeon generation sort of explained and working again. Didn't really make any progress, so today we're going to try to make some actual progress. Before we get started, let me thank my patrons. You guys are awesome. Especially this week, I've been crammed with the day job, just looking at other people's code and not getting to write things, and thinking about you guys, and keeps me motivated, so thanks a lot. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get back into where we were before, and let me pull up the YouTube has this little pop-out dashboard, which I think is kind of cool. So that keeps me informed of when people are joining and leaving and so on. Seems to not be working at the moment. So if you join the stream, drop a hello in the chat. That would be useful. If you're not actually at your chat and you're just watching us on your TV, that's fine. I will also point out that again, up in the upper left corner here is the super secret link where you can download the last version of the game, which I think it released in January, of the test engine build with far horizons and some generated buildings and things. And then that's also, if you go to that page and enter that password, you can also get the link to the Discord, and you can join us there. Good bunch of guys on the Discord. Or a good bunch of folks. They're not all guys, I guess. Okay, so let's get started. So where we were last time is we were making these dungeon layouts. I've shrunk the area a little bit just, to make this a little quicker. At least one live person. Hi, Lucas. Nice to see you. So, we went over how this was generated, where it, puts down some, bigger feature rooms, connects things up, and then puts smaller rooms in between, and then connects everything together. The only thing I did in this since last week was, I'd added this starter light, but I also went through and found the room that is farthest. So this is like I just picked the first room that was generated, and I put this little starter light on there so it's easier to find. And then I found the room that's farthest away from that, on the graph, and the farthest links away, and put a red light on it. And so if we were to generate the dungeon from this, we could run around and we could find that particular light. Here, let me do that real quick, give everyone sort of a preview of what's going on. So that's the other thing is, the dungeon generator just renders, these are solid blocks. There's no actual emptiness here. And so this dungeon generator thing takes that and turns that into empty space and wraps it in ceilings and floors and things. And today what we're going to do is combine those so that the rooms actually render their own walls and ceilings. Hi, Romcram. Okay, so if we execute the script, this will turn this into actual rooms and floors, and we've got the holes from where we put those lights. And so this is the start, and we're trying to head over to that other thing, and that would be the goal, pretend goal. And so we've got some flames and stuff put down here. If we go here, I happen to know the way, but we end up with a dead end here, I think. And so we come back around. I'm trying to stay out of this too much because I know that YouTube renders this super dark for you guys. So if we came down here and ran down this hallway, I think we end up, is it down here or down here? There is something down here. Yep, here it is. So it's got a red light that sort of keys us into that we're at the, so this might be an end room. So I was just pointing out that it's more fun if a dungeon has kind of a structure to it. Yeah, this is what it looks like from outside. All right, so let us get back to coding. And what I want to do today is take this script, which generates this stuff, and turn it into, instead of generating these solid rooms, to actually generate floor, ceiling, and walls themselves. And same for the tunnels, and that way we could potentially give them different themes. I also want to modify it. Right now this is the blockhead tool, which is not really meant for this, but it's cool because you can hack these scripts in. I also want to, so it's writing directly to the blockhead data structures, and I want to make it think it's writing to a Mythruna world data structure, because that'll make it easier to transfer this script into a tool script in the game, and that way, maybe I could point at the ground and it would generate a dungeon under that wherever I clicked. We got a few steps to go. I have an agenda that I'm trying to. This is my near-term agenda, right? Have the rooms render themselves, render to a world data structure, have some themed rooms, so maybe some rooms are like the current blocks we're using, and some rooms use a different block. Integrate with the loaded map, so when I have that other world gen script that loads a piece of the world. Takes it a second, and so we integrate it with that first, and then maybe integrate it with the game as a dungeon one, so we could just click on the ground and it'll generate something there, and then maybe implement varied room elevation. I don't expect to get to all of this today, but that's the goal. And sometimes if we have like a really crazy goal, then we can do great things. Hi, Jeremy. Nice to see you again. Okay, so back to what we were doing, which is going to be, I made a dungeon layout too so that I don't have to worry about removing things and breaking them, which is basically just a copy of the old script. So this one, we're going to first, I think, make this render proper rooms and halls and set up the world data structure. So if we look at the script, right now when it renders to these things, it's just doing all these cells, set cell. And what we want is a world data structure that looks, it's not nearby. I have too many files open. You guys hear me say that a lot. Yeah, so we want it to look like this, where we set world cell. And so we want a data structure that looks like this, and we'll render into that when we render it all. Yeah, too many files. It is up here. Here we go. Okay, so we're going to make a fake world. I'm just copying this so that I can see the thing. So we're going to make world equals, well, let's say, yeah, class fake world, and we want it to take the cells and take an offset, and we'll have the int sets world cell pick 3D world. See, Groovy is really convenient because it has all this dynamic typing. So we can write the code in this script to deal with this. Let's make it world, fake world, cells, offset. We'll calculate the offset later. But now, like, all the code can call world.setWorldCell, and it looks to the rest of the script like it would if it was dealing with a real world, but it's a fake one. And so that lets the script code after this point be more general. And actually, we want to move this up here, and eventually we're going to get rid of that because we want it to work in an existing world. It doesn't matter what we return. And so this is where we want to say cells. Actually, what we're going to do, yes, so see, this is where the global offset stuff was. But we're going to have our own offset, so we want to call cells, set cell, offset.x plus, oh yes, L.x. So basically kind of like that, right? Offset .y plus world.y, offset.z plus world.z, kind of cell type. Now, I believe set cell takes integers, so we're going to have to do this bit, int. Oh yeah, I put it in parentheses, which is effectively a floor in this case. Okay, so what we're trying to get to is to be able to replace all those cells set cell calls with just world.setWorldCell and not have to have the global offset, because we're going to we're going to set the offset here. I think it doesn't matter whether I use, can't type tonight, that's not useful for a live stream. Global offset. So how's everybody's week been going, eh? Mine's been pretty bonkers. Okay, so we've got all that set up. And so now everywhere we have cells, set cell, we are going, not that one, but these. Let's see, this is drawing a tunnel. And so we no longer need the offset. We can just take this world.set world cell, and this is the only downside, is we're going to need to say, well, yeah, new vec 3D. We don't need the offsets anymore because we built it in. And similar thing here. Huh. Oh, well, these are, this is in code that's not even run. So, yeah, we'll just leave them out for now. In fact, since it's not being used, I'll go ahead and cross it out. Yeah, my day job, I'm in learning mode because I've joined a new project after working on one project for 8 years, and this is a brand new project. I don't know any of this stuff, so it's been interesting. I spent a lot of time reading other people's code. I haven't really gotten to write any Java code, although I did use it as an excuse to learn React today, which was kind of fun. React is a, I don't know if you know, React is a sort of web technology, and you can also use it to make smartphone apps and stuff. Every now and then, you know, I have to get back to web user interfaces, and so when you only sample every 8 years or so, technology moves really fast. Okay, so that's that one. Let's verify that it's working up to this point. We don't even use this code right now. So this should, if I run it again, everything should work as before. Yeah, except for you got to get the code right. 777. Okay, I've missed a parenthesis somewhere. Yes, right here. Yeah, so I've been looking forward to this live. I've actually been looking forward to this live stream all week to get to write some actual Java code, or Groovy code. Same difference at this point. Okay, so we've still got an error. Compile often, kids. No proper word for tunnel. Oh yeah. So the other thing we're gonna have to do is made it. No, I haven't shown all the good stuff. I basically gave everybody sort of the preamble of what I'm trying to accomplish, and so right now what I'm trying to do is take the old code that was rendering to blockhead specific stuff and make it render to a fake world so that it'll be easier to integrate into the world. It's nice to see you, Ron. Glad you could make it. Okay, so wherever I did that, which was here. Oh, I'm passing cells in, so let's pass world in instead. Well, welcome to you, fun Java. Yeah, we're happy. Yeah. You're fun. Yeah. It's kind of weird, being a contractor. You move from job to job a lot, and so it is kind of like having a new job, only you're paid by the same people, and all that stuff works the same. But I had been on the previous project for like 8 years, so it was kind of like just you get stagnant. But I also knew I knew everything, or at least had a hint of everything about the code we wrote, because I either watched it get written or I wrote a lot of it, and now I come to a project I know nothing about, and you know, they of course use a whole bunch of different idioms that are not the way I would normally do things. Not because they're wrong, but just because, you know, styles and things. Learning a new style. All right. So we got world passed in, and that means everywhere we've called draw. So let's look for draw. Yeah, tunnels draw instead of cells. We want to say world, and that should do that. Here on learning mode this week. Oh, the lack of navigable Java doc that got noted on stream a few weeks ago. I don't remember. Are we talking about the fact that new Java doc doesn't render correctly, or I can't remember. What was I doing? We're going to test it again. Aha, so everything's working as good as before, and we've changed tunnels to deal with the world data structure. So now we got to do the same thing for room. Oops. Yeah. It feels so good to be back in my preferred programmers editor too. I had been working in the last week and a half or so in Eclipse, and I've always kind of Eclipse rubs me the wrong way for a bunch of reasons that maybe I shouldn't go into here without setting myself up for problems. But anyway, yesterday I finally broke down and installed IntelliJ on the new system. And that's at least yeah. I hate the new JavaDoc. I'll track down old versions of JavaDoc, and I don't care if I miss stuff. That's what I thought you were talking about. Yeah. So I installed IntelliJ yesterday, and it's like night and day. It's so much better. I find I'm not fighting the editor all the time. I really generally hate IDEs because I get used to being able to type you know, in real time. Like, it doesn't pop up things while I'm typing. It doesn't close my parentheses for me. I don't have to remove things because it added them and I didn't want it to add them. So I like a simple editor that's just fast. And Mr. Ed, which is what this is used to be called, and now it's just called MED. I've used this one for 25 years. It's back since I used OS2. It was available on there. And one of the things that really sold me on it when I first used it was that no matter what you do, if you find some weird thing here, you hit Control and click on it, and it lets you assign a hotkey to that. So, creating your own syntax is, you know, highlighting is super simple, and I cannot say that for too many editors. And mostly I like it because it's not trying to always pop stuff up while I'm typing. It's like I don't like it, and it's wasting my time. So these both need to be converted. Because what is this doing? This is setting the lighting, yeah. So let's just do this. Cut and paste coding in its finest. Anyway, so far everyone on the new team is super nice, so that's always good. Okay, we need a parenthesis there, a parenthesis there. Let's see if I've broken anything yet. Okay, everything looks the same to me, which means we're doing good. I guess the rooms don't render themselves. It's something we'll have to fix. And here's where I put the lights in. And so we'll do a similar fix here. I did comment out the old, yeah, okay. Let me steal this code again. Anyway, I didn't mean to talk about the new job. As far as Mythruna goes, I have been able to keep working on it every day, and I've been messing with the rivers, and it's so frustrating. I redid how I started slowly kind of mapping the rivers into the real data structures that will be in the actual game. And so every little difference I find in how the river's laid out, you know, then I have to track down why and do debugging, and it's just been a lot of that slow going. In the end, that means we'll actually have real rivers in the game, but it has been tedious to say the least. But in a way, that's been kind of good because, you know, I've been exploring other people's code. It's kind of nice to just sit down and write unit tests and for your own code, make sure it's perfect. And there's something reassuring about that. It's satisfying, put it that way. Okay, so yeah, so we render the rooms manually right now, but everything's been converted over to. Oh no, we broke. But it's still rendered. Okay, so what did we break? 1392. Oh, I missed a parenthesis. Yeah. Common problem. Okay, so all that to be said, in the first 20 minutes, we have converted all of this code to work with a world. So if I really wanted solid rooms you can't walk around in, integrated into solid rooms you can't walk around in, integrated into the world, we'd be good to go. But that's not what we want. So we want to change these to like actual render walls and floors and things. And to do that, I'm going to simplify the problem first. And so let's add some flags. I can get rid of some of this old code too. Just neaten things up a bit. So let's say, yes, we plot the tunnels. It's interesting, I plot the tunnels before the rooms, and I'm going to have to flip that around. It's easier to render rooms, the walls and ceiling and stuff, if you don't worry about the doorways, and then render the doorways after. But when I was dealing with this, it was easier to go the other way around. So we want to say if, yeah, we render both types. So let's set some flags up at the top. Old style false. And so we'll say if render old style here, and we'll do a similar thing. Oh wait, what's this doing actually? This is find the room that's far. No, so this is different. This is put this. We want to still do that. I do want to mark the rooms. Okay, sometimes the old editors fights me, but okay, so we've got all that set up. This is just what tickles it to make it redraw. And so let's do that here too. Yeah, now I know a fancy IDE could have indented all that for me. There's a the way my brain works, it actually helps me to slow down sometimes. That being said, you know, so that during that times when I'm doing that like tedious repetitive stuff, that enters a separate set of my part of my brain that used to do data entry, and I can think about other things while I do it. But that being said, I'm not going to indent this one. It's just too big. So we'll just have bad code there for a second. So if I do this now, it should render nothing. Oh, interesting. It's rendering the graph lines between the different rooms. That's kind of neat. So there's a draw lines thing here that's set to true. Yeah. But anyway, I find it necessary to have kind of these Zen moments where my brain can kind of let the different brain waves. Okay, where's the draw line stuff? There it is. Why is it doing that? Let's find all the draw lines. That's not doing those. It is doing these. Draw the connected edges. Wait. False. Thing is, I need that edge traversable thing. I think I'm going to use it. Okay, so if I run this again, it should render nothing. Okay. And so what I'll do. Oh, interesting. Surprised it didn't render the red ones. Oh, because it's something else that renders the. Yeah. So this one's set to false too, or render old style. Yeah, I don't even remember what I was just saying. Oh yeah. So to just get the room rendering right, what I'll do is I'll just render one room and we'll get that working. And so we'll add, I have this room class that I defined somewhere. There it is. And so we'll put insert into world. Oops. And so we'll make it render itself. And then instead of generating, yeah, you can turn it off. The thing is, like if I'm already in Eclipse, I'm I'm kind of too far gone. Real IDEs have been really useful in navigating someone else's code base that's got all kinds of stuff that I don't understand, because I can just go to find declaration, and hop all over the code base. And so that has at least been useful. But yeah, I think I find Eclipse's autocomplete stuff that is super invasive. Like whereas IntelliJ's is a lot nicer. If I type a parenthesis, for example, and then I delete it, it also deletes the pair, and I wasn't seeing that with Eclipse. At any rate, IntelliJ also feels faster. It certainly starts up faster. Okay, what was I doing? Oh, room. Anyway, I don't want to start an IDE war. I'm anti-IDE in general, just because doesn't fit my style, and but that doesn't mean I understand it's a completely productive tool, and those of you who know it well get good benefit from it. It just does. It seems to be a net negative for me. Okay, so what I'll do here is, if not draw old style, well, we'll just say what we're going to do is make a, oh, we can't return without doing this too. Where was I? Too much code in one script is not a good idea, guys. But Blockhead unfortunately doesn't let me change scripts like Mapper does, so it's not easy to set up separate scripts. So we'll create this thing, and I'm going to make a big old comment up here. Yeah, I come from the old school where the editor wars were between VI and Emacs, and I have used both. I used Emacs for a long time. All right, so this makes sure the world resets, and then here, what I want to do is I just want to make a room. Where's an example of making a new room? Yes, we go to log, we give it a location, and then later do we decide the size? Or this is the size. Yeah, this is the size. And then we make the locations later. Loc size. This is better. That's a better example. Okay, so now I need to just find my big old comment. There it is. Okay. Yeah, we'll steal this one. Pass the log. Pass the new location, which will make 0, 0, 0, because it should be centered. And then we'll make a room that's 5 by 6. And then we'll temporarily copy the room rendering code. I like iteration. That's where I was going to say before. You know, compile often. I prefer it. I find I end up in less trouble that way. He placed a flame on the floor in the center. Sure, we'll continue to do that. So I make little incremental changes. I prefer to have working code all the time. Make a few changes. Okay, so we got room, blah, 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 room, blah, 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 room, blah, 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 blah. World set cell, world set side. We don't have to carry the old stuff anymore. We place a flame on the floor. Okay, so this does the old style rendering, but it's going to prove that this block of code is working. And so it should go super fast or fail really fast. Okay, so it didn't put it where I wanted. Wow, you're one of the old school players. Well, it's been a mixed bag, Juliana. Thanks for joining. But we do what we can, right? Okay, so yeah, so 0, 0 based. I probably want to place the room. Let's say 10, 10. I just want it to be in a place where it's easy to see. Oh, it's a room that's only 1 high. That's not cool. 2020, because I think the map is 40 by 40. Anyway, so there's so it's rendered old style, and what we really want to do is we just want to say room insert world and have it do kind of something similar to this, but in the room code itself where I was writing this stuff. And so we already know that's right, the room is on a grid. We set room is on a grid that's 2 cells by 2 cells, which is why I multiply all these sizes by 2 when I'm drawing actual blocks. All of this stuff can stay more or less the same. We're going to let's go ahead and set up some style stuff. Floor type, wall type, and I'm going to call it roof, even though ceiling is probably more apt, but I don't feel like typing it right now. So that'll set up the styles. And initially, we'll set the types up to be mud. That's interesting. Oh no. What I want here is the not cobble. Mudstone. Mud. That is mud. Okay, so the floor type should be mud. The wall type should be cobble. And the roof type, I think I made it stone. Actually, I can show real quick. Because I made a... I made one, yeah, so that was stone. I made that image to put on the video before earlier today. So this is probably called stone. We're kind of just hacking things together. Yep, stone. Okay, so preset the types. That means we can say we don't need this anymore. So each of these is going to have to be 2 bigger than what we really want, because we want to render walls, right? This is defining the empty space. And so this needs to be -1, -1, whoops. And we're in real 3D space now, even though, which reminds me, I need to make that room appear in the middle of the air. So, did I really just delete all that? I did, didn't I? That was not very smart. Okay, so we'll put it up in the space so we can see it render in 3D. And we just can't test that right now. And so there's an efficient way to do this, and there's an easy way to do this. Now, the efficient way to do this would be to render a floor, render each wall, render the ceiling, because there's no point in touching the empty space. Actually, I can make an argument that this is going to be the better way. So we're going to render all of the 3D space, even the empty blocks, and we're going to set the empty blocks. Because it occurred to me, if we're going to be inserting this into the world, we need to also set the empty space. So this is actually not the fastest way, but it's the only way. So, but here we need to then add some if statements. If y is 0, then we're the floor, right? Else if y is ys -1, we're the ceiling. Yeah, because I added. Now I have. Oh no, it's the 2 plus I put at the beginning. Yeah. So if we're at the top, then we're the ceiling. Else if let's so we'll just leave it the 0 for now. We'll just do floor and ceiling for a second. Oops. Because we already have a type as something else. Floor type, roof type. So if we set block, and we'll leave the flame out for a second. Okay, so if everything is right and I didn't make severe typos, which I'm very commonly done, yeah, I apparently have no such property room for classroom. Yeah, well, I am the room. I don't need to refer to the room. So Juliana, if you haven't downloaded the latest engine, you can see it if you're still on. There's a link up here in the upper left where you can hand type it in. At this point in the development, I don't want like every random person wandering off the web and finding it, so I've made it slightly more difficult to get to, just so that the real fans can get at it first, and because I trust you guys to take my promises as they are and not come hunt me down later if I don't implement something that I said I might. Any rate, okay, so we've got a floor and a ceiling. I'm trying to get there. It's just it's a little slow. It's not meant to be used. This tool is not meant to be used for this. Okay, so we've got a room and it's got a floor and a ceiling. For the sake of, let me take my test room and give it a little extra height. 3. So I want, like, this is a short room. It's only 2 blocks high, right? And so we'll make it 3 blocks high, just to give us a little more visualization room here since we're looking at it from outside. Yeah, so then this should be 3 blocks high. Yeah, okay. Now we need to draw the walls, and they'll be here because the room is one size bigger all the way around than it's supposed to be. And so back up here, that's where we do this stuff. And so if x equals 0, then we're at 1 wall. Or if z equals 0, then we're at 1 wall. Or if x equals xs minus 1, we're at a wall. Or if z equals CS minus 1, then we're at a wall. Everyone following that logic? Okay, so then block equals wall type. Yep, and then else. Yeah, oh, we already have, basically, okay, so that should draw our walls. If I've done my math right. Yeah, so we got walls. And so if I go in here, let's see if we can move close enough to get inside. Oh, well, it's all dark. Let's put a light. Actually, we can render our flame in the center of the room again. That should work. We need to put it up above the floor. Okay, so let's render again. Well, it did not put a... oh, I put it... Why did it do that? Oh, because that's supposed to be min plus 1. I told you guys would get to watch me write bugs. Okay, so now if we move in, we should have a light in there so we can see, yeah. So we could even run around in here if we want. Okay, so we have a mysterious looking room with dark corners, and we can render as many of these as anywhere that we want. Okay, so that's working, and it's 0 based. Yeah, so we're good. Okay, so backing away. Now we need to do a similar thing with the tunnels. I think there's 2 different ways that the tunnels are rendered. We're not getting as far as I wanted, as quickly as I wanted, but that's no surprise. Okay, so let me look at how the old stuff rendered the... Okay. Here's where we render the rooms. Right here. Here's where we render the tunnels. Yeah, so we just draw a tunnel with the edge type, and then tunnels. So tunnel's already set up to work with world. Too much code in one place. So this world type, and it's using... We should be able to already draw... Okay, so we'll change this to be draw solid, just so that I can distinguish it from the... Okay, and then that way I can have like a regular draw for a tunnel. First, let's set up to draw a solid tunnel, and the tunnel has a start and end, and it sets the length from that. Yes, we're good there. Tunnels get weird because I think I might need to render them in 2 passes. The thing is, like tunnels, if you think about it, it's going to render one tunnel along a line, and it's going to render another tunnel that over the corner. And if you don't take care to render the empty space separate from the walls, then you'll end up, you know, like if we had a tunnel that was a L shape, it's going to one of these ways will be blocked because it'll render the walls for this tunnel and block off that other one. And so I think what I need to do is render the walls and ceiling and floor first, and then go back and render the empty space to make sure that it's all connected. And so essentially the regular draw will be doing the work of draw solid, but also rendering walls around it as a separate pass. So first we'll draw walls, then we'll draw, if that makes sense. So we're going to need 2 of these methods. But first, let's make sure we, before I get ahead of myself, what is type used for in this method? So if it's 0, we do stone. If it's other, do dirt. So everybody's stone, I think. Or does it matter? Yeah, we figure out a block type. Stone or dirt. Global types color coded. I don't even remember what that's doing. I read a lot of debug code and then I forget, and I didn't leave a comment for myself. So, is anybody calling Phil? Phil. Oh, I know what Phil's doing. Phil is keeping track of where we've rendered tunnels already. Okay. So for my fake tunnel, let's make an L so we have a good test. And we'll make it, so def tunnel 1. And we'll make it go from, let's make it go from someplace that we'll really see it. So first we'll make it 35, and we'll make it the center of that room. So this room is, I don't know if tunnels are in grid space, so that'll be another thing to figure out. So let's actually make it 25, 20 from the corner of the room, because then we'll see if it's in the same. And then 10, 5, 20. So we should have a thing. Tunnel 1, draw solid. I'll say world 0. Let's see what that does. Okay. It rendered the solid tunnel inside the room. And did weird things. Wow. Okay, no, so it rendered the tunnel out here. It just rendered it as nothing. That is disappointing. Draw solid. Type. Okay, if type equals 0, make it stone. So we should be setting it to. Let me make sure we're not just. Oh, okay, so it just didn't. I know what happened. In my test code, this always has to be at the bottom. This absolutely has to be at the bottom. So that's the one, tickle the world, tickle the blocks to re-render. Okay, so we are doing what we're supposed to do. And it does look like they're both in the same space. So that's good as well. And so now we can test rendering a second tunnel. And we'll make that one go from 10, 5, 20, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10. Okay. Okay. Run again. It should be an L-shaped tunnel. Okay. Oh, I think I remember now what that capped thing does. One of these should be capped. The other algorithm takes care of this since I'm manually generating them. Tunnel 2 capped. Let's see what that does. Okay, so it capped the wrong end. So it caps the far end, so we would need tunnel 1 to be capped, which means that basically that's how I handle the L's, which is useful actually because we could, you know, what I was saying earlier about having to render the walls and the tunnel separately. Technically I might be able to get away with not doing that, and I could just render the doorway of the room because I have this capped thing which already knows that it's rendering the extra corner if it's capped. so it could render that part different. So that's useful. And now we've got an example I can use. So now we can implement the other draw, which let's presume for a second that I can do it the good software development way, which is to just draw it. We'll call it insert, just like the other one. So we're going to insert into the world, and essentially we want to do everything that this one's doing, but bigger. So yeah, stop is the length. Oh, that weren't the Pepsi. Got to get this done in 9 minutes. Okay. So this is basically walking along each section of that path, you know, one through step, or stop rather. And then in each one of those, it's, you know, sort of drawing that 2 by 2 by 2 block of tunnel. And probably I want to expand that in the future. I definitely want to do something different right now, which is we want to go from -1 to 3. But eventually, you know, what I mean is I want to make the size different, and so that I can have wider and thinner tunnels, taller and shorter tunnels. And then this one -1, 2, 3 also. So I guess so if I was just to run this right now, well, I got to switch over to insert for one thing. We're going to just make it block equals waddle. Yeah. For the moment. And then down here, I really hope I'm not boring you guys to death. But it's nice to have company. I've dropped off to 4 now. I bored 2 people. Uh-oh. No signature draw. Okay, it's applicable. It's insert now. Just like the other one. Okay, so you see it's like nice and fat. That gives us room to implement the floor and ceiling. So like, sorry. So we have room to implement the empty space. Okay. Right, so now we need a similar if statement in there like we had for the other. We're going to similarly theme the tunnel. Later I will set up actual themes, maybe next week. I feel like this is the most entertaining thing I have to work on right now for you guys, because we get to see stuff right away. And I suspect you guys are tired of looking at rivers, and as tired of looking at rivers and little points on a map as I am. Okay, so we want to each pass through. We want to say int block equals 0 if x equals -1 or x equals, x equals 3 minus 1. I'm doing this on purpose, right? Because eventually that's going to be replaced with an actual size. Z equals -1 or z equals, oh, well, first we want to say if y equals -1 or y equals 3 minus 1. Else if, I got the YouTube down there warning me about my stream quality. Z equals 3 minus 1. Then we're a wall. If we're either, so these are separate actually. So if that block equals floor type, and if that block equals roof type, and if that block equals wall type, right? Because if we're at that bottom row, y minus 1, y equals minus 1, we're the floor, so on. It's interesting, yeah, so, it actually does an incursion right into the room there. Is that because it's capped? I was pretty sure capping only capped one end of the... Well, first of all, let's see if it's working. No, well, I've got a bug. So, syntax error. Right there. Okay, so that should make hollow tunnels, but I believe that corner is going to be blocked. And possibly the... Oh, everything's blocked. Oh, no. The ends are blocked. Yeah. Sometimes I want the ends blocked, sometimes not. Okay, so it's doing its thing. But I'm going to put it back for a second because... let's make everything roof type for a second. I want to see something. When I noticed that it's rendering partway into the room, and that's going to be important for how we make the doorway, how we carve the door. And I want to make sure that's not because of that capped thing. So let's leave off capped for a second. I was pretty sure it only caps the far, yeah, so it only caps there. Oh, that's the other thing. We are doing a lot of extra work, no? So that's overlapping by 2 because that's the grid. Tunnels are going to be the hardest part to get right. And something in here with the capped, yes, that's what it's doing. It's just adding 1 to the... Instead, when we insert, we want to do something else. And in fact, because... Yeah, so we're rendering a whole block, and that's not really what we want. What I mean by rendering a whole block is the a tunnel is in a grid space that's 2 by 2 because you basically can't have a tunnel smaller than 2 by 2, and so it renders in like 1 block space, and then I multiply everything by 2 to get it here. And when it's rendering each section of the tunnel, it's actually re-rendering parts. So it renders this, then it renders this, then it renders this. And what we really want to do is render just kind of a slice in each of the directions and not render the end caps. Oops. Except for, when we're capped, we'll specifically do some code. So that's actually more complicated than I had thought, perhaps. What are we doing? Yeah, see, so we always render a 3D cube, and then we overlap, and we aren't... efficiency-wise, we're re-rendering over and over and over and over. And in here, if we kind of want to have 2 different kinds of loops. And let's put this stuff back. And we don't want to... Let me simplify things just for a second. So if false... I want to kind of show what's going on. So we're just going to walk the path, and I'll show you what is... like what the quote-unquote center of the tunnel thinks it is. So we want v.x times 2, v.y, or is this the origin of the tunnel rather? v.z times 2, because here we're stepping in grid space, but we really want to be rendering in block space. And we will render something obvious, floor type. Okay, so let's render that. Oops, we got a bug. No method set world cell. Oh, yeah. I really wish that I had added to the world interface something that took raw values. I really need to go back and do that. Okay, so this is what it's rendering right now. That's interesting. Why does it render it all the way up there? I did something wrong. Oh, in Y space we're not doubled. That's fine. So basically we're rendering, the one far side of the tunnel, and obviously since we're in grid space, we're rendering by 2. And so that was fine before, because we'd render these little 2 by 2 blocks and they wouldn't overlap. But now we're rendering 3 by 3 blocks. They're definitely overlapping, and they're going to cap off any of the ends of the tunnels. And what we really want to do is not, because the other thing is we're overlapping the floor. You can't see it unless I take the blocks off. But I think we render one cell into the... Oh no, we didn't. Interesting. Okay, but I think what we really want to do is... Yeah, so dir vector, we want to make this in world space. So we want to take we want to make start.x, so we want stop times 2, start.x times 2, plus I times yes, start.y is fine, start times 2. Okay, so that should be off, and I shouldn't have to do this anymore. So now we're in world space. Everything should be a solid line, assuming I didn't write a typo. No, it didn't actually. It didn't render anything. Oh, yeah, I just must have clicked wrong. Okay, so yes, we're rendering solid now. We have to do something special for the cap, but this is the part where I need to then figure out which direction I'm going. And in fact, let me make sure this is really working like I mean, and add a third tunnel. Technically we're going over time. If we've got 6 of you guys on, so let me just keep going and see if we can get this working. So we want the other side of the room. So not 20, but 20 plus 5. 25. Except for we really want 24. And then we want this to be, let's just say 34. And render tunnel 3. So this should render a tunnel out the other side of the room. Execute script. Okay, so, and let me make sure that it's not rendering too far into the room. Except it is. This is what I was talking about. It's rendering an extra block into the room because we overlapped on a 2 by 2 grid. Okay, but we're fine here. And that is, why is that? We want to do that. We don't want to do this. And I'm not sure why that is, but let me deal with that problem later. Unless it turns out that's going to be what makes the next part hard. I don't know. So we don't, okay. So hey Lando Calrissian. How's it going? How's it hanging in Bespin? Uh, nice. I I get little snippets of time to play games, and one of the free games for PlayStation Plus last month was Minecraft Dungeon, which I'd actually looked forward to playing because I played it in an arcade once, and uh, and um, and it's kind of fun for quickly getting in and out of. But I've made the mistake of trying to do a tower run, and the bosses are super hard. And so right before this, after dinner, I finished a tower run. It's the first one I've ever like completed. I finished the final boss, but it was like taking me an hour, and I'm oh no, the live stream's coming up. I don't want to end. So it was like 20 minutes before the live stream. I was able to defeat the final boss, which is like some wretched wraith or something. Oh, you didn't like Minecraft Dungeon? Oh, React. I just did a tutorial on React. I made a tic-tac-toe app today. Nice. Um, okay, so let's but back to what I was doing. Okay, so we'll leave this in for now. Actually, let's make it a global types. Oh, so this is fun. If I do global types white light, we'll actually see it. Global types white light. This is an old trick from Mythruna days. Like you're guaranteed not to miss a whole string of lights in your stuff. Okay. So we like that. We don't like this one starts one block in. We're gonna fix that later. In the meantime, what we want to do here is we want to have kind of two different. Wait, there's actually a smarter way to do this, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to say if d.x equals 0, that means we're moving north and south. Otherwise, we're moving east and west, right? And so if we're moving north and south, we only want to do the x, y part of this loop. Right? Actually, I should be able to just try this. Let's see what. Oh, it's still multiplying everything by 2, so we're going to have. Oh, z. Oh, yeah. So there's more to do than that. I've got to say. First of all, I've got to take all these times 2's out because we're moving. Oh no, wait. Yes. Yes, you got to take all the times 2's out and the plus z's out. Okay, so let's see. That should render a tunnel in one direction. Oh, I forgot to take one more thing out. Except for x can only be the thing. Let's try that. I've started twice, didn't grab me or my kid. Yeah. I actually, I ran through the starter town until you get to the area where you've got all your stuff. And then I immediately went to do the tower runs. I don't know if you've done the tower, but I find that really compelling because they strip you of all your gear and you start with basic gear and you earn your gear as you go, which I thought was kind of an interesting way to make me play different because otherwise I'd build the same character all the time. But, okay, so we're not doing the center yet. Is that true? Huh. Okay, so we're building a solid tunnel. And so, oh, yeah, because of, no, I actually don't know why. But so, the first couple times I died at the first boss, and, and I so picked different power-ups each level. I give it a try, especially co-op. I think the tower run, that makes a difference too. I kind of like the third-person experience. It reminded me of the old game Gauntlet. Okay. And it's funny because back in the early days of Mythruna, when development has stalled a little bit because my wife's issues with her brain cancer and stuff, Um, I had looked at just taking the technology of Mythruna and trying to make some quick and dirty games out of it, and one of the things was a Mythruna Dungeons, and of course Minecraft Dungeons wasn't even an inkling in anybody's ideas back then. I never did it, but I did kind of a brief design, and it was going to be a lot generated levels, um, and a lot of borrowing from Gauntlet as far as bad guys and stuff. So first of all, oh, for one thing, I'm always setting the roof type. That's why. Yeah, I actually have an arcade cabinet that I built myself down in my basement, and it was built from the specs of a Gauntlet cabinet. So it's got the 4 joysticks, 4 quote unquote coin slots, even though there's just a button that you hit. Anyway, look, the tunnel worked. And it's a MAME cabinet basically, right? But Gauntlet was what it was built for, and of course Gauntlet 2. And after a while, you get good enough at it that you don't have to pump quarters in so often. It's kind of fun. Yeah, I really enjoyed that game. In my youth, I spent so much money on Gauntlet. All right, so when we are going, we only care about Z and Y. When we're going east and west. And so this one, we don't care about the X's. And yeah, so this is always going to be VX. That's what this one is. So I think now we got tunnels going in both directions. Yep, check it out. But I believe the room itself is blocked off. My guess. No. Oh. Surprise. Okay, the tunnel does probably move into the room a little bit. Let's see if I can place a light and show you what I mean. Yep, so it incurs into the room there, a little incursion. It's not entirely bad. That's that problem I was talking about before. That's a fixable issue. But look, we've got tunnels. And so now we need to deal with the end cap. So basically, the tunnel is capped. I don't do that anymore. These are going 1 block farther than they're supposed to be, so I think I need to just do that. Aha. Okay. So now we've got that, and I can render. So that's the tricky part, is knowing which walls to leave blank. And there's, the proper mathematical way to do that. And so, first of all, I can get rid of this because that's we're done with. Okay, so, it doesn't matter whether I do this before or after I draw the tunnel, so we can just put it up here. So if capped, at the end of the tunnel, we want to draw some stuff. I don't need this anymore. So kind of at the end of the thing, we want to draw n.x times 2. Let's just see where that is. Start.y and actually n.y. Let's just be proper for a second. Start.z times 2. And let's see where that is. We're going to cut and paste this. And actually, we will put this at the end so that it will render on top of whatever we're doing, just in case it's overlapping. Okay, let's see where it should put it. Right there. Okay. Okay. Elf shot the food. Warrior, your life force is running out. And we go to the bowling alley, and there's the one guy with the stack of like 8 quarters, and he would sit down at the wizard thing and play for like an hour and a half because he was that good. And then there's the one level where you don't even bother to play it. You just wait for the 200 health points to tick down and all the walls to turn to exits so that you can shoot the illusionists over the exit walls. And if you screw up, you just leave the level. All right. Floors and ceilings I can just render. So we'll just do that. For int x equals -1, x is less than 3, x plus plus. Do the same thing for z. And so then we're rendering there. That's not actually where I thought we would render. Oh, because capped. Yeah. I think this will work, but not necessarily for the reasons I thought. So we say plus x plus c. And so we'll render back 1, back 1. We don't actually want to render this. We certainly want to do, So we're going to block this tunnel off, I bet you. Oh, we're just rendering floor and ceiling right now. That's fine. Okay, so at the top, or at the bottom, -1, to render floor type. And if I've done right, we should just have a floor right now around this little capped area. Ooh, nope, I haven't done right. In fact, I have screwed up somewhere. Uh-oh. I screwed up in a way that we're going to have to, yeah, Z++, there we go. I have to kill the app and start over. Good times. Wizard, what bravery. One of the early cases of a speech synthesizer, actually. I knew that from the MAME cabinet implementation, that there was actually a speech chip that did that, the voices for Gauntlet. Okay, so that's not what I expected. That's not what I expected at all. So, oh, look at that. Typo. Those are the worst kind too. Okay, so there. Okay, we got a floor. If I do this, we'll have a ceiling. +3. Oops. We should have a ceiling. Oops. Wrong. Wrong. It's going to be -1 and roof type. And the other thing I want to do is I can say if x is greater than or equal to 0 or x is less than 3 - 1. Oh wait, no, these are ands. Well, so if at some point I have to draw the walls, and those are going to have height. Just thinking. Do you guys care if I get the walls working right now? Let's do 3y++. Actually, y should be less 0, and what's this? Y is less than 2. For a second, I'm going to do this. I'm going to set plus y. I'm going to set this to global types, white light. Again, check your work often, kids. So this is going to fill that area with, whoa, it's going to break because I did something wrong. No such proper global types, plural. Okay, so yeah, I filled the area with white light. So, I mean, I could get pretty far without implementing these walls, because what it'll do is it'll carve. If I just make this a 0, it'll carve into the. So if we had land there, it would carve into the land. What I could do, and so this would technically be a functional tunnel. See if we can make it into the tunnel there. Okay, so this would technically be a functional tunnel, because if it was in real dirt, you know, it would just leave it would hollow it out. So technically, we could use this to make a real dungeon. So I kind of wish there was a light in there. And so maybe for corners, we could put a light in the ceiling. Carving and walls. You mean like sometimes leave the ground exposed and sometimes put walls up? Absolutely. That will definitely be an option. Yeah, exactly. Well, and there'll be different styles of dungeon too, which we didn't get to today, but that's what I was setting up for, was the ability to have, you know, different floor and wall types and stuff, so that you could transition from one section of the dungeon to the other and give you kind of an inkling. When I first started the live stream, I showed that I keep track of where the nearest room and the farthest room are, and you know, so you have kind of an end goal. And I wanted to have it also so that different sections of the dungeon would transition, and that would make it kind of easier to show that you're getting progress. So if you started out with everything wood and wattle and daub, and then you get to a point where it's rock and dirt, and you know, you're getting deeper in the dungeon, deeper in the sense that you're getting farther along, and then you start to see the cobble and the mudstone and stuff, and you go, oh, we're getting close to the baddest of the bosses, that kind of thing, to give you an idea of sort of penetration. So we build the dungeon, and instead of rendering old style, we're going to render new style. So if not render old style, we're going to do all of these things. Oh, this builds the tunnels and doesn't draw them, so that's not. This doesn't draw the tunnels, so we didn't need to have gated this in the first place. Yeah, plot the actual tunnels. So that's not a rendering issue. That's later on. This is where we render the tunnels. Yeah, that's where we render the tunnels. And so this should be to draw old style. And if we're not drawing old style, or render old style. And if we're not rendering old style, we want to do all this too, exactly like this. And Except for we're just going to insert world. Already known. We don't need this, that's old stuff. Okay, so let me just test tunnels for a second before we have rooms. So this is going to go back to doing the layout like we had before. And it'll just render the tunnels. If I've done something wrong, it won't, but yeah, so. Yeah, okay, I got something wrong. No such property, render old style, so that's not what I called it. Except for I did. Oh, style. Typos, so much fun. And probably another typo, so they always are. No such property, render missed alternates. Render missed, okay. So okay, so that all is old stuff. Okay, so those are the tunnels for the rooms that we're about to render. And I think, yeah, I definitely need to render the rooms first now. So we'll cut and paste this stuff up to here. And this becomes a lot simpler because we can just say wait, what was that? PS pos. What is pos used for? I don't see it, so we'll just say room insert world. Okay, so this is the new, this is like the new code. All it takes, once you've generated a dungeon, this is all it takes to render it. Except for I want to do this later. Yeah, there's again, like the imagination really kicks off. But yeah, there's so many things that are easy to do once you've got the foundations in place. But yeah, that just looks like on the ground. That would just be, yeah, a bunch of ruins, old city maybe. Okay, so apparently I am not rendering all the things I should be rendering. Because this tunnel is missing. Oh no, that tunnel has its, okay, this is the gap. Okay, well the other thing is we really want to say, if we're not rendering the old style, we need to up everybody's location. So that there's room for the floors to render, and same for edge.start. Oops. Oh, edge. It's not edge, it's tunnel. Tunnel. We're getting so close. Come on. In .y, I think. Okay, let's see if that does it. Everybody render a little higher. Yeah, check it out. Oh, and what I wanted to do is for the tunnels, the corners, if we have a cap, wanted to render a light in there. Where's my tunnel render? So too much code in one script. Draw. So here we had the light where we rendered it before, and let's go down here and render it after, but we'll render it at the top. We'll render it like in the ceiling. I think that will work. Let's see. Oh, that rendered it above the ceiling. That's not really what we want. Oh yeah, -1. Why do you keep doing 3 - 1 instead of just putting 2? Well, because someday there will be case size. Okay. So yeah, so if we were rendering this underground, it would render solid in there. And so we actually can, let's real quickly run around in here, and then what I will do, So see, we've got a really, really, really dark dungeon. Oh, I think I accidentally closed off my tunnels, which is why it's so dark. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Foo. Oh, I also didn't render the ceiling lights. Okay, so let's very carefully select fire and put it over there. Okay. So yeah, I've blocked off my tunnels somehow. That's unfortunate. It's very much harder to explore a dungeon. Well, you know what we could do for the moment? Because I really want to see this rendered underground. So let's take the walls off. And so it'll just leave hollow tunnels. Oh, maybe, wait. Oh, let's take, I took the end, yes, of the end caps. Yes, that's what I wanted to do. Yeah. Just a hidden passage. Yeah. Gotta have hidden passages, man. Okay, so let's, okay. Oh, nope, still they're getting capped off. It's better than it was. Like, if we go in here, see, we've accidentally capped off this. So let's basically not render any of the walls. And so if wall type, it would be normally wall type, we'll just set it to 0. Oh, and we, we still need that. That's not what I wanted to do. Yeah, I'm already not rendering the walls there, so okay. I think we have some rooms that are capped that are not supposed to, so yeah, see, we've still got, we got to do it for both directions. Okay, so some of these walls are too aggressive, and so we'll do this, and that's going to make super wide tunnels, unfortunately. Oh, well, here's another problem. It's not actually necessarily the tunnels that are at fault, or it's not. We've got, we blocked off the access to this room as well, and that's just because our tunnel didn't go far enough. Right, it didn't move into the, So, what had caused that? That was the, I set this to be, what if I set it to be that? Oops. Okay, are all the rooms connected now? Yeah. Okay. But if we're not going to render our walls, then now our tunnels are too big. And so this is where it would have been good if I had put an X size, Y size equals, I'm not going to do the Y size at the moment, but so let's change, X-min equals 0. Z-min equals 0. Y-min equals 0. Minus 1. So, maybe I will. So that was X-min, and we want this one to be less than XS. YS and Y-min. Because that'll do for one direction. Let's make sure it works. Whoops. I've screwed something up. No such property MS. Well, okay. Typos again. You guys are yelling at the screen. You just wrote it wrong. Okay, so we've got thin tunnels in one direction. We're going to do thin tunnels in the other direction, and we'll leave the end caps maybe a little wider. I don't know. We'll see. So this should be Z-min, Y-min, ZS, YS. And so then basically all of these places were, yeah. I have to go back and fix those. We're not doing walls, so it doesn't matter. And here I will do similar. X-min, X-min, Z-min. I'm yelling. Just use an IDE. Yeah, well. Just wrote it wrong. However, it's far too broad to be useful comment. True. Well, I wrote MS, yeah, so the XS before. So let's see. We should end up with skinny tunnels. Okay. So where I want to get to and why I even bothered is all of the things should connect now. Why some of the rooms? Oh, that they've got their. Let's make a hole so I can get inside. Oh, why are you so solid? Oh, Oh, it's two rooms right next to each other. Okay, well that one at least connected. And so we've got like tunnels that connect. I don't see any blocked ones. You know, obviously we're rendering the walls strangely. And the corners all have the bright lights. So what I want to do now is, I think if I just take out this bit that clears all the blocks, then I ought to be able to run, I ought to be able to run the world gen, boink. Okay, world gen's going to render it too low, I think. Maybe. Come on, world gen, do your thing. Yeah, it's a little slow, right? Okay, so we should have enough space under there to render a dungeon. And so if we go up here, back to dungeon layout 2 and execute the script, boink, boink, boink. Haha, well, we don't have quite enough space. But it did render it, right? Okay, so let's go running around in our in-ground dungeon here. That's technically under a river, it's just not rendering the water. Okay, so our tunnels all expose the actual natural rock and ground, which is not really what I wanted, but we can run around the dungeon. Yeah, so these the incursions of the roof of the tunnels, that's one sign of the bugs. So I have to basically work out why the tunnels are working too far into the rooms, and every now and then we get like one that breaks through the sky, and that makes it super bright there because sunlight propagates farther. But anyway, it's working. Technically I could integrate this into the world without much trouble. Too long to do tonight since I've already run 40 minutes over. But that's what we'll start out next time. Well, maybe after this live stream I'll fix the walls, and then before next time. And so next time we can get right into integrating with the world, dealing with tunnels that move up and down so the rooms can have some different elevations and things. And maybe we'll deal with multiple levels too, stairs that go down and so on. But we basically have a dungeon. It's not a very exciting one because there's no monsters in here. That'll be later. Alright. Thanks for joining, guys. Any last minute questions before I start to close things out? If you can, right now, go click the like button. It's super easy. Costs almost nothing. Just a little of your time. And it really helps out. So because the YouTube algorithm, we got to feed the algorithm. A lot of you guys stuck around for the whole stream. That's going to look good to the stats. But thank you for watching. If you're working on your personal projects, I wish you the best of success, and give yourself the permission to fail a little bit. You know, as Jake the dog says, sometimes sucking at something is the first step to getting kind of good at something. So we're all going to make many mistakes, as you've seen me make in this particular live stream and every live stream here to forth to come. So thanks for joining, and I will catch you guys next time. Especially those who stayed around for the end here, and catch you next week.